You know, we're often told that history is written by the victors. It's one of those simple, clean statements we tend to accept as truth. But if you look just beneath the surface, you find a much more complex and, frankly, unsettling reality.
The philosopher Walter Benjamin gave us this haunting image. It suggests that the past isn't some settled record book, but an ongoing parade, a triumphal procession where the powerful are still marching over the defeated. Welcome to Inside History HD. Together, we will peel back the layers of narratives long locked away in the archives of history.
So that old saying, history is written by the victors, it's become conventional wisdom, right? And that's a point really underscored in an analysis on Compassiana.com. We just accept the phrase, but it hides a pretty profound problem. Are we actually understanding the past, or are we just hearing the echoes of power?
What if the act of writing history isn't just a passive recording of what happened? What if it's an active force, a kind of narrative butterfly effect that ripples through time, shaping our present, our identities, even our ideas of what justice is?
Think about how it works. First, an event happens. Then, a dominant story about that event gets constructed. From there, powerful institutions, schools, the media, museums, they amplify that one single story until it becomes the story. And this whole process is what forges our collective identity, what shapes our modern sense of justice. It just goes to show how a seemingly small choice in how a story is told can have these huge, cascading consequences.
To really get a grip on this, we have to turn to some of the great architects of thought, thinkers who basically unmasks the mechanics of how history is built. They showed us that history isn't something you just find, it's something that is meticulously made. And at the heart of this is Michel Foucault's revolutionary idea of power/knowledge. As the paper Foucault's Power/Knowledge and its contemporary relevance lays out, he argued that knowledge and power can't be separated. Power isn't just about saying no, it actively produces what we all agree is truth. So in this view, knowledge is never neutral. It's actually an instrument of power. And the Compassiana article brings this theory right into focus. Quoting Foucault, power produces knowledge. The implication there is just profound. The groups that control the conversation don't just win a war on the battlefield. They win the right to define the truth of that war for every generation that follows. So if Foucault revealed that knowledge is tied to power, the historian Hayden White showed us something just as deep about the nature of the stories themselves. White's theory of emplotment makes the case that historical facts just don't speak for themselves. He pictured the historian as being kind of like a film director, taking all this raw footage of events and editing it into a specific genre of story. So for example, is the French Revolution a tragedy filled with bloodshed, or is it a romance of liberation? The facts don't change, but the plot the historian chooses completely changes their meaning. And that choice, it's never neutral. It is deeply ideological. But what happens when this shaping of history goes from a subtle interpretation to outright deliberate deception? Well, this is where we cross over into the territory of weaponized memory. And here, we have to make a really clear and vital distinction. Historical revisionism is a legitimate part of scholarship. It's re-examining the past when new evidence comes to light. But historical negationism, that's its perversion. It's the deliberate falsification, the distortion of the historical record for political goals. It's not scholarship at all. It's pure propaganda. And the tactics of negationism are really a toolkit of deception, using forged documents, twisting statistics, quoting experts completely out of context. These are not the methods of an honest search for truth. They are tools meant to twist the past into a shape that serves a modern-day agenda. So the narrative seems pretty clear. The powerful construct history, and sometimes they deliberately falsify it. And yet, the historical record itself presents us with a paradox. What if the most enduring stories aren't actually written by the victors at all, but by the vanquished? This is the really fascinating twist that's explored in the article When Losers Write History on medievalists.net. I mean, think about the fall of Rome. Our main accounts come from the defeated Romans. And the story of the Viking raids, that was written down mostly by the Anglo-Saxons who were being attacked. The famous epic, The Song of Roland, is a story told from the perspective of the defeated Frankish army. Now, this is crucial. These counter-narratives aren't necessarily more objective. The defeated also write history with a purpose, to preserve a culture, to make sense of a terrible loss, to honor sacrifice, and to forge a new identity out of the ashes. Their voices are absolutely essential for a complete picture. And that brings us to today. The fight for the past isn't some distant, settled thing. In fact, we are all living participants in its final, unwritten chapter.
So history, it turns out, is not some fixed landscape that we can just observe from a safe distance. It's more like a dynamic construction site, constantly being shaped by power, by deliberate narrative choices, and by the competing stories of both the winners and the losers.
This leaves us with a critical question, one that goes way beyond just academic debate. We are all consumers and transmitters of history. So if the past is a story that's constantly being retold, what's our responsibility in the telling?
Because history isn't just a relic of some distant time. It is happening right now, written in the choices we make, and maybe most importantly, in the stories we choose to believe. If this journey has offered you a new perspective, support our exploration by subscribing to Insight History HD. Thank you for listening, and I will see you in the next narrative.